It as we track on through. We have up to 650 people registered for this short webinar called Address Your Stress. And my name is Jason Brennan. I'm the Director of Wellbeing and Leadership for Workit. I'm also a coach, author, and psychotherapist. And there's my email address. If anybody wants to reach out either during this talk or after with any questions, please do. Some of you may already know me from the book I wrote with my mate, Brent Pope, who's a mental health advocate and sports commentator. And my team in Workit look after Power. So we're the team that put all the great articles and blogs and videos into Power. And again, there's a ton of Power users on this call today. So I hope you're enjoying it. For those of you who don't know Power, it's built on the 6 pillars of well-being: work, life, food, mind, active, and sleep. And again, there's tons and tons of content in Power. And if anybody's interested in finding out more about Power, again, just reach out. You can send me an email, or we can follow up after this webinar. One of the things that we've just completed and we will be talking about in the next number of weeks is we've just completed a global working from home survey, and we're super thrilled with the response. It's about 80 countries, and you can see there well over 4,000 participants. And here's some of the interesting things that have shown up. And again, this is, of course, in relation to the global pandemic that we know as COVID-19, and a word that we didn't know anything about in 2018, and we can't wait to not know anything about in 2022. But here's some of the things that this has shown up, our survey. So a lot of us, while working from home, we've been actually enjoying sleeping longer, not having too much of a commute, which is great. We've gotten back a number of hours in our day. Many of us are saying we're staying more connected with friends and family, which is super good to see. Especially, I think a lot of this has to do with being able to connect with people through technology, like we are doing today. I mean, it's rare that we can all get on a call, 600 people on a call to have a talk. That's one of the good things about working from home. And a lot of people are saying they're physically well, which means they're mindful of their wellness, which again is great to see. On the right-hand side, of course, it is showing up some of the challenges we've seen in the last year. This survey was done over a 6-month period, and a lot of people are saying that they are feeling more stressed working from home. That's not necessarily working from home as such. We got to look at it through the lens of COVID. So a lot of people have been quite stressed over the last year since COVID hit, and I'll be talking about what are the things we can do on an every day to take care of ourselves. A lot of people are saying that they're struggling with not having the tools for their job. That's not necessarily laptops and chairs and tables. It's more space. A lot of people haven't got the space to be working at home all the time. People are working from their bedroom or working from the kitchen table, which has been a bit of a challenge. And the last one there, still a big challenge for all of us, is to take our breaks. We're not so great while working from home to take our, for example, extended lunches for an hour, or taking our coffee breaks, or even getting outside and going for a walk. So these are the things that we need to be mindful of. As I said, we've just launched these results, and anybody who's interested in having a copy of the executive summary, we can certainly organize that. Or if anybody wants to be part of the upcoming webinars, there'll be a series of webinars. So I'd like to just get a sense from the group here if people would be interested in that. So Louise, who's helping me on this webinar, if you could just pop up the poll there, Louise, if you can. Great stuff. So as you'll see, very simple poll. If anybody wants to join in the webinars later on or receive a copy of the results, just click yes and then hit submit. Would be fantastic. So that poll is just going to keep on running for the rest of the talk. So let's get into that. Let's get into the talk. Let's have a look at what we're going to be covering today. Well, happy Stress Awareness Month to everybody today. So that's what we're celebrating on this 20-minute talk. And what I'll be focusing on is pretty much 4 quick and simple techniques that you can invest in well-being each and every day. Now that bit about each and every day is super important, because well-being is a Kaizen process. And what that means is little and often. If we do small things often enough, they will add up to big results. So whether it's 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day over a long period of time, if you think about it, if you did 10 minutes a day for 5 or 6 days, that's an hour plus of well-being. So I'm going to give some suggestions on the type of things that you can invest in every day in a small way to be driving your well-being. Why is this so important? Well, again, we need to counteract the effects of COVID, the psychological and physiological effects of COVID. So what's been happening over the last a little over a year since COVID hit, is our autonomic nervous system has been processing a lot of stuff in relation to this kind of external threat that we call COVID. In particular, part of our autonomic nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system has been kind of on high alert at times on our behalf because it's been worried for us in terms of our self-care. Now, you might know the sympathetic nervous system as the fight, flight, freeze response, which is completely normal and natural. When there is a clear and present danger in the environment, that gets triggered. And what happens is adrenaline and cortisone kind of swashes through our system to help us either run away, to help us fight the danger, or to hide from it. Now, unfortunately, over the last 12 months, this has been, for many of us, and this is what the research is showing, kind of being pinged on alert every now and again, and it's been building up and kind of working against us a little bit. We've been building up a little bit too much adrenaline and cortisone in our system. The results of that are things like we're not sleeping very well, we might be not eating so well, we might be feeling quite fatigued. So some of the things we're going to talk about today is how to kind of counteract that, how to activate what's known as the parasympathetic nervous system, traditionally known as rest and digest. And there's some very simple, easy techniques you can do to activate your parasympathetic nervous system so you get a better sleep, so your appetite is different, so that you're getting more energy to go and do things. One of the very simple things you can do every single day is what I call journal your internal. Yeah, so I do this every day. So I just sit down and I think about how I'm going. What's going on inside of me? What's going on in my mind? What are the type of thoughts that I'm having? How am I feeling? What am I looking forward to? So I just take about 5 minutes out every morning. If I'm lucky, I get to sit outside in the sun and get a bit of vitamin D while I'm doing it. But I just answer a few very, very simple questions. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm actually helping not only my mind, but I'm helping my body process some of this adrenaline and cortisone and actually start to cool it down. One thing that has helped me during lockdown and for a while now is the 5-minute journal. So I've invested in the 5-minute journal. Here's mine here. Ba-dum-bum. And I pretty much just sit down and answer the questions each day. And literally, it only takes me about 5 minutes. Now, if you don't want to invest in a journal like the 5-minute journal, you can just create one yourself. So these are a couple of questions that you can think about every morning when you sit down and kind of reflect, take time out to reflect on yourself. So what's on your mind? What's on your mind right now? See if you can kind of catch those thoughts and those feelings and just write them down. What will make things better today? So kind of start to move into a bit of a creative space. You know, what are the type of things that I can give myself today or that I know I will enjoy? Then start to create some goals. Okay, if I know that I will enjoy this, how about I kind of set them as goals and think about what I want to achieve? What's achievable today based on my time and my energy? And then just write out a very few small goals. Some of it might be, I want to go for a walk. Okay, so I'll put that down as a goal. I want to go for a walk for 20 minutes. There's something about writing it out that psychologists have known for a long time. If you write it out, you're more likely to do it than just thinking about it. So the action of writing it out makes a big difference. And this is a super good question. How will you feel after it's done? Right? So if I write out, well, today it's a beautiful day, I'm going to go for a walk for 20, 30 minutes. How am I going to feel after that? I'm going to feel like, I'm going to have a sense of achievement. I'm going to feel good about it. So if I write that out, I'm even more likely to do it. If I can imagine how I will feel after I've done it, we're more likely to do it. So very, very simple process. But believe you me, 5 minutes a day does go a long way. So that's journal your internal is step one that I do every morning. And why I do that is to help my various parts of my internal system. In one part, it's definitely my mind that I'm talking to there. When I'm listening to my thoughts and I'm acting on my feelings, I'm helping my body process some of that. But now we're going to look at some of the other things that go on inside of us. So our internal organs. If you think about our brain, that's an internal organ. But there's other parts of our system, including the diaphragm, right, which is a fairly big muscle that sits just below your rib cage, and that's the muscle that we activate to breathe. Normally, we don't really think about it; it's unconscious. But we can become conscious and help our diaphragm work a bit better. And it turns out, when we focus on our diaphragm, which is traditionally known as kind of around your core, when we focus on it in a structured way and we practice breathing in a structured way, it activates a thing called the vagus nerve. And you can see it here on the right-hand side. And it's the vagus nerve. It's when we activate the vagus nerve that it sends messages to the autonomic nervous system to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. So to trigger rest and digest. So it turns out breathing is a superpower that we're not aware of. But when we become aware of it and structure our breathing, actually it sends messages throughout our system to say, relax, come off high alert, you're safe, you're okay. That's why you're breathing like this. So my tip number 2 is breathe easy, right? Take some time every day to breathe easy, like this person is doing. How good does that look? So what I do in the morning is, after I've written out my 5 minutes of reflection, I put my diary aside and I take another 3 minutes just to focus on my diaphragm. And you can do it now with me. So all you do is breathe in and breathe out. Now what should happen is when you breathe in, your belly should go up and out. And when you breathe out, your belly should go down and back. And you'll know this if you put your hands on your belly. You'll know if it's working. It's called yogic belly breathing. Now, if that's not happening, a couple of things might be going on in your system. One is your stomach might be quite tight. Okay, so you might want to try and relax the muscles in your belly. You can do that. Your hands are quite warm, so that will help you relax the muscles. You might be breathing up into your chest, and or your diaphragm might be slightly twisted. So one good way to kind of unhook your system is to hold your breath for as long as you can. If you hold your breath for as long as you can and then let it out, it'll go like that, and your belly go in and out real quick. And then you can slow it down and it'll start to just happen naturally. Slow down your breathing. Because what you're trying to do there is activate your vagus nerve to send the messages to say, this is nice, this is peaceful, there's nothing to overly worry about. Super good, because what it will do is counteract the stress chemicals, which are traditionally adrenaline and cortisol, which are good natural chemicals, but unfortunately have been building up in our system over the last 12 months. And one of the challenges there, because of lockdown, is because we've been building up the adrenaline and cortisol in the system, we've been doing a lot of sitting. So it turns out working from home, we're not as active as we normally are as when we're in the office. So we're sitting about, I think it came out about 3 to 4 hours longer a day. So we're a lot more sedentary because we're not kind of getting up and getting public transport there and from work or walking around the office. We're just kind of getting stuck into our work. So adrenaline cortisol is what we're targeting here through the breathing and through the journaling. And I've used the heart rate picture here because when we have excess adrenaline in our system, our heart rate is up. We may not be aware of it, but it is. And it usually we usually kind of feel it when we lie down to go to sleep. If there's excess adrenaline in our system, we won't have good sleep because our system, part of our system, is still on high alert, and it's thinking like there's a fire in the corner. What do you? You had a couple of hot baths in a week, you'd sweat, you'd pump out your sweat. It's not there just to get clean, it's there to get rid of this adrenaline. Your sleep should adjust. But even better, I'm suggesting what I call sweat the small stuff. You might remember the old saying, don't sweat the small stuff. I'm saying sweat the small stuff because it's the small stuff that's building up in our body. It's the small doses of adrenaline. So we need to get out and do some exercise. So I do recommend go for a walk. And if you go for a decent walk, do try and speed up your heart rate. Do go a bit faster every now and again, just to kind of be sweating more. Again, lots of people might have some equipment at home that you can hook into while you're working from home, like a treadmill, but you don't need to have gadgets, right? Literally, we can do exercise anywhere, anytime. And one of the things that is super good to get your heart rate right up and be burning off a lot of adrenaline and cortisol is what's known as a HIIT exercise, HIIT. If you Google HIIT, it's an exercise that's been created. It's about probably usually 5 to 6 minutes long, but it's high intensity. And Dr. Michael Morsley from the BBC says if you do 3 HIIT exercises a week, that's all of maybe 20 minutes, that's equivalent to an hour and a half in the gym, which is great because, over here, a lot of the gyms are closed. So if you can't get to the gym, do a HIIT exercise, get the sweat up, and you'll feel really good. And all you need to do is book that into your diary or set an alarm on your phone to go ping. It's now time for you to do your 5-minute HIIT exercise to build that sweat up. But there's also lots of really fun exercises you can do. And this is my last tip for today. Move to the music, right? Dancing. Dancing is an exercise that's super good for us. And we are owed back a lot of dancing. We haven't in the last year been able to go to nightclubs. We haven't been able to go to discos. We haven't been able to go to those parties that kind of go deep into the evening and all of a sudden somebody puts on a record and everybody's up dancing and singing. So we're owed back some of this. So what I'm going to suggest is that this week you schedule in some dancing or some listening to music, because it turns out music is the quickest mood changer, right? So if you have a playlist that you've put together that you know influences your mood, all you need to do is put it on, press play. Spotify is very good at putting this forward together for you, but find those songs that you really like, that make you feel happy, that make you smile, that make you think of good times. A little tip here, for some reason, ABBA. ABBA is fantastic at this, right? If you've got an ABBA song in there, boof, all of a sudden it's on. You want to get up and dance, so get up and dance. Yeah, because you get a bit of cardio you're getting going, and you might get a bit of a sweat on as well, but you'll be certainly enjoying yourself. Yeah, even if I say the word ABBA, you might be smiling right now. That's how powerful ABBA is. And of course, if you've got the urge, if you got the spirit in you to sing, do sing like this person on the left-hand side, kind of belt it out. It turns out singing is also super good for us. So what we're doing there is our heart rate is going up. We're using our lungs to kind of belt out a song, which means we're activating our vagus nerve just by singing. So there's a lot of research that says being part of a choir is a brilliant pastime for mental health and well-being. But I'm just an advocate. Sing in the shower. You know, if you're at home, don't worry about who's around you. If you feel a bit more gutsy, sing outside. You never know, somebody might join you. So that's pretty much my 4 tips for today, for people to think about, to plan in and structure into their day and their week. And I'm really going to invite you from here to go and do that. So find some time to journal your internal. It's super easy to breathe easy. So find some time maybe today to do that, to set up your weekend. If you can, get a sweat on, sweat the small stuff as often as possible, but do enjoy the music and do enjoy the dancing. So what I'd love to do now, because I think we've just clicked over, boom, 20 minutes. So what I'd like to do now is just open it up for the next 10 minutes to see if there's any questions that have come in during the session. If there's any questions that people have, you can just put them into the chat, and Louise will call them out to me if there is any, and I'll answer them as best I can. If not, we'll wind up. So just want to check, Louise, has anything come in?
Hi, yeah, so there's a few questions. One of them is from Pamela. She wants to know if dancing counts even if you don't sweat.
Oh, absolutely. Because what you're doing is you're creating feel-good chemicals, which also counteract the stress chemicals. So you're creating serotonin and dopamine, right? Singing and dancing creates serotonin and dopamine. So don't worry about sweating, because if you are dancing, you're enjoying yourself, and that's going to again move you more towards rest and digest. Brilliant question.
Perfect. Well, a lot of people are saying thank you very much, Jason. Another person wants to know where they can get the 5-minute journal.
I just got it online. I think it was just on Amazon. It wasn't that expensive. There's a couple of versions of it, and myself and my wife actually have bought 2 copies, and we often share some of the reflections. And every day there's a quote. I wonder what it is today. It says, "When life is sweet, say thank you and celebrate. And when life is bitter, say thank you and grow." I think that was quite nice. But yes, I think just Amazon, if you bang in 5-minute journal or mood journal, you'll find a couple of options.
Brilliant, thank you. A lot of people are saying they love ABBA. One person has asked, what is this ABBA? So ABBA is a band.
Oh, fantastic. We've got a new recruit. So that person needs to go and do a bit of research on who ABBA is. I was very lucky. I lived in Sweden for about 1.5 years, and I lived on the island that two of the ABBA 4 lived. Of course, they weren't there when I was there, but they're from Stockholm, and there is an ABBA museum in Stockholm. If ever you're there, when things open up, highly recommend it. So do a bit of research on who ABBA is and see if you like what they sound like.
Cool. Question from Sharon. She's already doing all the right things that you suggest, but she's still getting physical symptoms of stress. So what would you suggest next?
Definitely monitor the physical symptoms. So if you can, write out what those symptoms are. What are you noticing is going on for you? And this is where the self-reflection is super important, because then you'll start to self-monitor with good data and information that you can then go and talk to somebody about. So what's going on in your head in terms of your thoughts? Is there a lot of negative thoughts going on there? Is your heart rate up? If you've got a heart monitor, that's great. If not, just kind of check it. Are you feeling nausea? So what are the actual symptoms that are showing up, and when are they showing up? You know, are they showing up on a Monday morning versus a Friday evening? So see if you can track, diarize what's going on, because that information will be super useful, both in terms of self-knowledge, but also if you get a chance to talk to somebody and you know, hooking into a good clinician can really help. And that's not just a doctor, it's you know, maybe a good therapist or counselor. You may have something available through your organization in terms of EAP. You know, connecting and talking with somebody who knows what they're doing can really help shift things in our system. Because what can be happening, unfortunately, is some of these symptoms may be kicking off some things that we may not have attended to even before COVID. They're just becoming more pronounced. So this is a great opportunity to kind of get to know ourselves better and figure out some good techniques. So thank you for being so brave to ask that question.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And then another question from Josh Capel. Will there be similar sessions in the future? He finds it really interesting to learn about the biological effects of stress and how these actions counteract these.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the poll is still going, just click yes, and we'll reach out to whoever says yes, they want information to let you know when the next webinar is. But we certainly do have some plans. So the working from home results, there'll be a set of webinars that are coming up, and on the back of that, we'll be talking about some of the things that people can do while working from home or while the transition is happening. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And thanks for asking.
Cool. A question from Emma Brager. Any tips for making something a habit?
You know, that's a really great question, because it's not easy, right? This is why a lot of New Year's resolutions don't work, because we don't make it a habit. So it makes it what's behind a habit is what's known as discipline, and I talk about it in my book with Brent, the 4 Ds of success that we researched with elite sports people, and discipline is one of the key ones to make a habit work. Now, it doesn't take too long to do a habit. So, you know, some people say, you know, after 10 days, if you've done it every day for 10 days, it'll start to be a habit. But what I do to make it easy on myself is, this is where I do use a bit of technology. So I ping myself. So if I want to, so I do a bit of meditation. If I want to change the time I meditate, I need something to remind me. So I set a time in my phone to ping me. When that goes off, that's my meditation time. So I stop what I'm doing and I meditate. And without that ping, I wouldn't be able to build that habit. So make it easy as possible to build a habit with external things letting you know. You might even put up something you've written and stick it up on the wall somewhere, like beside your mirror, every morning that you see it. It's like a reinforcer to remind you that you want to do this, you're committed to it. So today you need to do that, and then feel super good after. Because again, the serotonin and dopamine, give yourself credit when you've done something multiple times, like over days, to say, well done. But that's probably the best I can suggest for now.
Yeah. And then Jackie Bugle is wondering how to switch from work mode to out of work mode when you turn the laptop off in the evening at 5 p.m. and cook dinner in the kitchen at 5 p.m. always in the same room. It feels like living in work.
Absolutely, that's been one of the real challenges of COVID, and this is why I suggest a playlist. So I've been talking about this extensively over the last year. We do need those external prompts. So when if you normally finish work at 5:30, set your alarm every day for 5:30. As soon as that alarm goes off, stand up, do a bit of a stretch, put on your playlist. All of a sudden, you'll recognize that you're no longer working and you're moving into the evening. It's playtime. If you have some songs in there that make you want to dance, then you can again have a dance. But it does separate out work from day, and also if you can get outside and do some exercise. again, if you can build a habit in, okay, 5:30, put on my playlist. I might actually put it on while I go for a walk. So I'm going to get myself out, maybe for half an hour, and then come back and start the dinner, because that's more like what it was like when we were in work. You know, we'd be able to decompress after work while we were traveling from work to home. But because we're in home all the time, we're not decompressing. So we actively have to make a mechanism to decompress. So going for a walk, going outside, sitting down, listening to some music, reading a book, I think is I've taken up a lot of reading again for pleasure. So find a book you really like. As soon as 5:30 comes along, grab that book, read a half an hour, and then get into making dinner or whatever, or hanging out with the kids.
Yeah. And a question from Cleena Dillon. Any ideas for HIIT, getting the heart rate up for someone with a long-term foot injury, very slow walker?
Well, that's it. You've raised something really interesting there, which is all of this advice needs to be taken in moderation in terms of if you've got anything about your body that you know, it's not recommended that you push too hard. So in this case, if you've got challenges with your foot, don't be doing a HIIT exercise that requires you to do a lot of walking or running or jumping. There are other exercises out there that you can invest in. So, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, all of that. You know, if you've got access to a rowing machine, it's fantastic. But all of that kind of upper body work you could do to build up a sweat. So therefore, not overly reliant on putting a lot of pressure on your feet. So anything where you can sit down and do exercise would be good for you. I mean, again, if you've got a few weights that you could do, I'm a big advocate of boxing, not in terms of getting in and boxing somebody, but in terms of boxing, hitting a punch bag is really, really fantastic to get your cardio up. You won't be able to do it for very long. If you put on a set of gloves and you have a punch bag so you don't hurt yourself, you don't hurt the bag, and you lash into it, you won't be able to go for more than 4 minutes. You'll be exhausted, but you'll have got your heart rate right up and you'll be pumping a lot of sweat.
Yeah, perfect. And a lot of people are really enjoying the ABBA recommendations. They're looking forward to listening to ABBA. Pat Dooling wants to know, would death metal work?
Oh, well, look, it's different strokes for different folks, 100%. If death metal is your gig, make sure you've got the death metal songs in there. There's a lot of really good ones. So find what works for you. But again, if you know, I'm sure you'll do a lot of great dancing to death metal. Go for it.
Perfect. And somebody has also recommended try Modern Jive. It's great fun and easy to learn.
Oh yeah, lovely. I like it. I will. Thank you.
A few people want to know if we're recording the session. Great advice. Yep. Oh, someone has said you have a lovely voice, Jason, very soothing. Have you recorded any audiobook stories that we can listen to?
Great question. So yes, indeed. So my book is an audio book as well. So you'll get to hear more of me if you get the audio book. In Power, I've recorded a number of meditations, including a bedtime story. And if you go to Insight Timer, which is a free app which has, you know, thousands and thousands of meditations. You'll find if you go in there, and look up Jason Brennan, you'll find a few meditations I'll put in there too. So thank you so much for giving me that lovely compliment. And on that note, I'm going to take that away with me today and wrap up this session. But I'm going to sit back and reflect on how nice my voice is and take that compliment. And again, I wish you all a great weekend. It looks like it's going to be a super, super warm weekend. Thank you for giving up half an hour of your time, and go well.